Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first nutrition session. I just want to let you know that we will be recording these sessions for safety purposes as well as to put on our website. So please try and stay muted as much as possible. If you have a question, stick it in the chat below. And I will let Rihanna take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm super happy to be here. I'm going to pull up my presentation right away and I'm going to introduce myself once I have that up so you can see some fun facts about me. So let's get going. Okay.
Oh,
We're not going to start with a dehydration demo. Just kidding. We're going to start from the start. How about that? Okay. Okay, so welcome to our very first topic for our nutrition series. The first topic that we are covering is hydration, as you can see. So before we get started, I thought that I would introduce myself since this is the first time I'm meeting everyone. So I'm Rihanna. I'm a registered dietitian and I live in Brandon currently. And if everyone, I don't know who everyone is, but if everyone just wanted to type their name in the chat box and I'll look at them afterwards. I feel like now I can't see everyone, but I would love to know everyone's name. So if you wanted to type them in the chat box, if you're comfortable, that would be great. And then I'll get to know everyone afterwards. But so while you're doing that, I thought I would share a few facts about myself. So I am from Plumas. It's a super, super tiny town. It's about 2 hours north of Winnipeg. And I also have a cat. Her name is Kat. Yes, I am very creative. And I also love Disney World. I have been there 5 times now, and I can't wait to go back, once we can all travel safely again. All right, so let's get into it. Here's what we're going to chat about tonight. So we're first going to chat about fluids, what are they, what counts, as well as staying hydrated, so how much you might need, and also dehydration, so what to look for and how to prevent it, and lastly, hydrating specifically for sports. So the best thing to drink, when to drink them, and special considerations. So if you have any questions, like Erin said, you can either just write them down or you can type them in the chat box. And then we'll have lots of time for questions afterwards. And yeah, then we'll actually get into our presentation. So let's just start with an overview of fluids. They are essential for our body to function properly. Our body is mostly made up of water, so it's important to maintain that balance. Fluids help with moving waste through our body and getting rid of waste, and that usually happens through stuff like pee and your bowel movements and sweat. And it also helps with moving important nutrients through our body as well. So, if you've heard of fiber, you should also know that fluids are key in helping it work properly for your body. Fluids also help maintain your body's normal temperature and control your blood pressure. So fluids are important for protecting and cushioning your joints, your soft tissues, and your organs as well. So clearly, fluids play a really big role for us and our body. So what actually counts as fluids? Classically, we might think of water, but fluids come in many forms. A fluid is technically anything that is liquid at room temperature. So this includes water, of course, as well as milk or milk alternatives like soy milk or almond milk, and juice, tea, coffee, ice cream, jello, popsicles, and soup. So before you get all excited and go and tell your friends that you can just eat popsicles all day just to stay hydrated, let me stop you there. So not all fluids are equally hydrating, and different fluids have different purposes. All fluids will hydrate you a little bit, but some fluids are better for actually preventing dehydration and helping your body function optimally. Water is our best hydrator. It's basically your best bet in many situations for straight hydration. But if you're looking for a fluid that also gives you some protein for after a workout, milk would be a great choice. And if you want a fluid that is cozy on a cold day like today, tea would be a really lovely choice. So we do encourage water as your main fluid choice, but many other types of fluids can also contribute to your overall fluid intake. All right, so I often get asked if tea and coffee are hydrating or if they cause dehydration. So coffee and tea generally have caffeine, which is a diuretic, which means it causes you to pee more, which can create some fluid losses. But if you drink less than the recommended upper limit for caffeine, which is about 400 milligrams per day, or about, like 3 to 4 standard cups of coffee, it likely won't have any like adverse or bad effects on your hydration status. So just to put that into like a real life picture, you could drink about 2.5 medium Tim Hortons coffees and be under that 400 milligram sort of upper limit. Not that you should aim for that. There are other things about caffeine to consider just besides how it affects your hydration. Okay, so let's do a quick poll question. So you can either just like write this down on a piece of paper or just pick your answer, and I'll show you the answer on the next slide. But true or false, you have to drink 8 cups of water per day. So I'll give you guys just a quick second to think about that. If you have someone sitting with you in your house, you can ask them that question too and see if they want to guess. All right. So the answer is actually false. Some people need more and some people need less water to be adequately hydrated. So how much fluid you need depends on a lot of things, including, your age, your activity levels, how much you sweat, etc. So then, how many fluids do you actually need? This depends on what it takes to keep you hydrated. You need to pay attention to your body's signs of dehydration or hydration, and this will help you to tell, if you need more fluids on a given day. Remember, you don't only have to drink water to reach your fluid goals. Many other liquids can contribute to your daily goal. And remember that how much fluids you need might change day to day. So we need to pay attention to the things that also might increase those needs, which we will chat about that in just a little bit. Okay, another question for you guys. So again, you can just ask your housemate or you can write it down or just pick an answer, but let's do another one. So true or false, you can be dehydrated without even knowing it. So I'll give you a second to think that out or talk that out. So you can be dehydrated without even knowing it. True or false? Okay, so that is actually true. So generally when you start feeling dehydrated, so like you're feeling thirsty or you have a dry mouth, your body has already lost a significant amount of fluids. So we want to be in the practice of staying on top of our hydration game and catching it early. All right, so getting into dehydration. So dehydration is when your body loses more fluids than it's taking in. So some signs of dehydration might be, thirst, dry lips or dry mouth, dark or strong smelling pee, headaches or feeling dizzy or feeling sort of lightheaded or feeling tired or fatigued. So like we talked about just on that last slide, even before you feel these signs, you can be dehydrated. So you want to drink fluids to prevent dehydration, not to have to treat it when it's gotten too far. And there are things that will increase your risk for becoming dehydrated. So things like sweating, being in the sun or in the heat, having a fever, diarrhea or vomiting, drinking alcohol and certain medications will also increase your risk for dehydration. Okay. So we are now at our dehydration demo. Okay, so other than feeling the signs that we just chatted about and paying attention to when you get thirsty, one other easy way to tell how hydrated or dehydrated you are is to check the color of your pee. So this will allow you to catch dehydration early. So next time you use the bathroom, look in the toilet after you go and just notice the color of your pee. And then remember to flush, of course. So today, Cameron is going to use apple juice to demonstrate what color you might want to look for to tell if you are dehydrated or well hydrated. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second and flip it over to Cameron, who is at her station. Okay.
Hi. So in the first cup here, we have 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. In the second cup, I'm going to be adding 1/4 cup of water to 1/2 cup of apple juice. And then in the third cup here, I'll be adding 1/2 cup of water to 1/4 cup of apple juice. And in the fourth cup, this is just 3/4 of a cup of water. Now, which cup is showing an ideal hydration level? Just put your answer into chat. So, this is cup 1 is a dehydrated person who definitely needs to drink more water. Cup 2 is a slightly less dehydrated person. They should start to drink more water so they can prevent further dehydration. And cup 4 is that you're overhydrated. So you do not want your urine to be crystal clear like this. And then cup 3, this is the most realistic color that your urine should be. It has a slight tinge of color to it, but that's the best level of hydration to be at. And that is our demo for today.
Thank you very much, Cameron, and we'll hand it back to Rihanna now.
Right. So I think I'm back on.
Spotlight you. There we go.
Awesome. That was awesome. I don't know if everyone wants to like give Cameron a round of applause. I kind of feel like I do. That was fun. Way to go, Cameron. That was great. And that was, I feel like it can sometimes be a weird conversation to bring up, but this is the best, easiest way to tell how hydrated you are, is just to look at the color of your pee. And so as Cameron showed us, you'll want to be around that cup number 2, so that sort of light or very light yellow color. So, if your pee is dark yellow or sort of like an amber color, you're gonna definitely want to drink some water to start giving your body a bit more hydration. And, just quickly checking before you flush the toilet is a great way to tell how hydrated you are, and to also start to get to know what the right amount of water for you is to drink, because then you can see the results pretty instantaneously. Okay, so I'm going to go back to sharing my screen real quick.
I think we have one question, or more so maybe a comment from Garrick. He does have diabetes. Does that change anything regarding to hydration?
So when you have diabetes, you might need a little bit more hydration. But I feel like I would still recommend the same thing, is just to find what works best for you. So you might need a little bit extra water, but because you might urinate a little bit more. So you might pee a little bit more just because that's just how your body works. So you might need a little bit extra fluids to help make up for those losses. But yeah, that I feel like is something that is another consideration, is if you do have a condition.
On Thursday.
Oh, I think we have, oh, there we go. We got it under control. All right, so I'm gonna hop back on and share my screen again. And again, if you guys still have questions or any other comments, we'll still just keep putting them in the chat. Or if you wanna write them down and save them for after, that's great too. All right, let's hop back over here. Present from here this time. Okay, so moving on. All right, so some ways to prevent getting dehydrated. Let's chat about that. So we're gonna want to watch for those early signs. So you wanna catch it before you're desperate for fluid, you know, like.
Brenda's done, and then we'll do movie.
Okay, so then, you know, you can definitely watch out for when you feel thirsty, but like we said, that might already be a little bit too late. But then another way to tell is, again, just watching for the color of your pee. So those might be your earlier signs, is watching for if your pee is changing color. All right, so then another way to prevent getting dehydrated is to keep water or something to drink with you at all times and just sip on it throughout the day. And another way is to be aware of times when you might be at a higher risk for getting dehydrated and make more of an effort to stay hydrated during those times, you know, such as when it's hot out or when you're in the sun, or if you're sweating more than usual, or if you're sick. All right. So now let's chat a bit more about hydrating specifically for sports. Okay, so dehydration can impact performance in pretty significant ways, even being moderately dehydrated. So that's about a 2% fluid loss from the body, can increase fatigue and decrease stamina and lower your energy, as well as increase the risk for gut discomfort, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So there are ways to hydrate your best before, during, and after an activity for optimal performance and enjoyment. So before an activity, you're probably going to want to drink water. But you're also going to want to be careful not to overhydrate and just like chug a bunch of water right before your activity either. This itself, so drinking too much water before an activity, can cause some gut discomfort or an upset stomach, and then you'll also probably just have to pee a lot. So being well hydrated all day leading up to your event, and then, you know, finding that comfortable amount of hydration for yourself right before the event is ideal. So then during an activity, you'll definitely want to drink water and possibly a sports drink. So the amount is up to you. You want to have enough to stay somewhat hydrated, but in an amount that's comfortable for you to drink. So you'll likely end the activity slightly more dehydrated than you started the activity, and that's totally okay. But we also want to make sure that we're not just relying on our thirst sensations during our activity. Just because we know that, especially when we're active and we're maybe distracted by other things, which is totally fair, once we're thirsty and need that sip of water, we're a little bit dehydrated already. So we're gonna want to stay on top of our hydration and make sure to take sips throughout your activity, just so that we're preventing that sort of extreme dehydration. And so then that's also why, though, hydrating after your activity is also key. So afterwards, you're definitely going to want to drink water. So definitely water and possibly some other fluids to replace other things that you've lost or that you need more of. So a sports drink could come in handy after an activity as well, just to help replace some electrolytes if you sweated a lot, or possibly like a milk or a chocolate milk or a soy milk to get a boost of protein and a little bit of carbs as well. So it's important to keep hydrating for at least a few hours after an intense activity to keep replacing those fluids that you lost. All right, so then what about sports drinks? So when I say sports drinks, I mean like Powerade and Gatorade and kind of drinks like that. But are they necessary? So sports drinks actually aren't generally necessary, but they can play a role in certain cases. So we would generally choose water to hydrate us during an activity, but with intense activities over 45 minutes long, where you're working like most or all of the time, sports drinks can be useful as you'll sweat more and lose more fluids and electrolytes. So sports drinks contain electrolytes, usually like sodium, which is part of salt. as well as glucose, which is sugar. So the sodium in the drink helps your body absorb and hold on to the water. And the sugar can sort of just give your muscles a bit of fuel if you've been active for an extended period of time. Some people notice that, sports drinks can cause an upset stomach, especially when they're active. So if they don't work for you, that's totally fine. They aren't super necessary. And it could also, though, be the type that you're using. So if the drink uses artificial sweeteners or fructose, those tend to create more gut discomfort. And if you've never used a sports drink or are thinking of like switching it up, I definitely recommend trying it out casually first. So trying it out at like a practice or just like a workout instead of trying it out right before an event. All right. And again, there will be times when we should pay more attention to drinking our fluids to prevent dehydration, especially when you're doing an activity. So you're going to want to watch out for fluid losses. So if you naturally sweat a lot or are doing an activity that causes you to sweat a lot, you're going to need to drink more fluids. And you're also going to want to watch out for the environment. So the heat, if the temperature and humidity are high, you're also going to need more fluids. And also the length of the activity. So you'll need more fluids the longer you're active and more for recovery as well. But with the length of the activity, you're also going to want to consider, adding in other fluids other than just water too. So like the sports drink and then possibly other types of fluids for recovery. Okay. So I often also find that people struggle with fluid intake, especially like regular water intake on days when they aren't quite as active. And there are things that you can try to, sort of help keep this fun. And don't forget that any liquid will count towards your fluid intake for the day. But here are a few ways to, just sort of help make drinking water more interesting. So you could try adding cut up fruit and vegetables or herbs to your cold water. So this gives it a nice subtle flavor. One of my favorite combinations that I've ever had was pineapple and rosemary. It sounds super weird, but it was actually really good. And so the best way to do sort of this fruit or vegetable water is just to fill your water bottle up or a pitcher of water if you want to keep a bunch in the fridge the night before. Add the fruit or vegetables or herbs of your choice to it and store it in the fridge overnight. Some other fun ones to try, some other like fun flavors might be, like lemon or cucumbers or strawberries or something like that. Whatever kind of fun combos you want to try. And then if you also struggle with plain water, you can try an unsweetened sparkling water or water enhancers such as like Mio or Crystal Light. And these can just help make your water a bit more interesting. Personally, to be honest, I don't find sparkling water super hydrating, but some people do. So I would say it depends how it works for your body. And it depends how quickly you end up drinking it too. Like I really have to sip on sparkling waters because of the carbonation, but I could drink a glass of water much quicker. So that also would come into an effect. Another tip would be to keep your water cold. So this can make all the difference some days. And if you have access to ice, just throw some water or just throw some ice in your cup or water bottle. And if not, trying out an insulated water bottle or possibly just storing your water bottle in the fridge. And lastly, you could just try using a fun water bottle. So this seems pretty simple, but sometimes having a bright colored or pretty water bottle or one that has like measurements on the outside or encouraging prompts can be a nice reminder to drink water. And on that note of water bottles, if you do use the same water bottle often, I'd also just make sure that you're washing it with soap and water often as well. All right, so that actually brings our chat to a close for tonight. Nice and simple. I hope you guys learned something about hydration, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay, so that brings it to a close. So if anyone has questions, I will run through the chat really quick, but otherwise, Erin, if you wanted to say anything.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm just gonna stop our recording now because not everybody needs to hear us all chat. Perfect.